Hey everyone, Joe here. In this episode, Jose and I had the great privilege of chatting with our dear friend Joe Bass, the 2nd Air Force Command Chief Master Sergeant. During our discussion, we chatted about generational differences, the importance of self-care, and much, much more. Enjoy.
Life, learning, leadership, the Llama Lounge.
Yo, welcome back to the Llama Lounge, a dialogue on all things life, learning, and leadership. This is Joe, and I have with me one of my best friends and brothers, Jose Ramon Jr. What's going on, Jose?
Hey, what's up, Joe? Just enjoying life. The weather's really nice here. I'm actually next to Colleen's pond. Was fishing with the fam, so it's a good day.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. It's cool that you got to. So, we only put the audio out there, but Jose is chilling in his Jeep in the woods somewhere next to a pond, which is pretty cool, right? And one of the things is he's taking a little bit of time away from his weekend activities with the family, and I think one of the reasons why is because we have a very, very special guest today that he just needed to be on with and have a conversation with. And this person is a mentor to me and someone I consider a big sister. The 2nd Air Force Command Chief Master Sergeant Joe Bass. What's going on, Joe? How are you?
Good morning and happy Saturday to you guys.
Yeah, happy Saturday to you.
So I had no idea that Jose was going to be in his car. I almost feel like I should go on my ride and, hang out and do this too, because it might be more quiet, to be honest. I already have kiddos walking around the kitchen grabbing stuff. And so they've been told and warned, like, be quiet as much as you can for the next 45 minutes. So, yeah. So anyway, excited to be here with you guys.
It's all good. It's family time. So if the kids jump in, they jump in. So cool.
Exactly.
So, hey, Joe. So, a lot of times we've been talking to the guests that come on, and we've discovered the 4 Llama brothers. We're all over the world, and and a lot of the guests we have, they're from all over the place too. And we're kind of all experiencing life right now a little bit differently. Where you're at over in Mississippi, what's it kind of like right now? Is everything shut down, or is it opening up, or is everything across the world is a little bit different?
So, yeah, things are starting to open up. The governor has, started to loosely in a phased approach started to open some things up in Mississippi. I'll be honest, we live on base. I can count on one hand how many times I've been off the installation in the last 5 or 6 weeks. And so I personally haven't been off base a lot. Watching, a little bit of news, not a whole lot of news, but taking a whole lot of guidance from our MAGCOM SG on, where we are. And so I feel like within the confines of our installation, for the most part, we feel pretty safe. We're doing our best to follow the practices that the CDC and the SG's community has given us so that we can at some point just kind of get past the waves and we don't think that this is going to be anything quick. We don't think that this is going to be over by the end of the summer. We don't know what that means at the end of the summer. But yeah, while things are opening up, my hope, and hope is not a strategy, but my hope is that we don't, our numbers for positive COVIDs don't increase, in a drastic way. But, I'm not convinced that that's going to be the case. So our family's being very precautious, and we're still not going out to restaurants. We don't feel the need to have to do that. There's a silver lining in all of this, and the silver lining for us has been it's forced us to stay home, to learn how to look at each other eyeball to actually cook together. And so we've actually, and what's funny is it's almost like when you've deployed and then you come home and you have to reconstitute and you have to, reintegrate with your family. And it takes, a while because you've been, it's taken us a while to reintegrate to a healthy normal with our family because we're used to being on the go. We've got kids we're dropping off at the movie theaters, at the mall. They're doing their stuff, and we're actually having to reintegrate and learn what it's like to be a family.
Yeah, that's great that you're able to take advantage of that. And I know, as a command chief and the scope of responsibility that you have, you must travel a lot on a normal basis. And that just got to beat up your body. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, just health wise, and leaves you a little bit more open to getting sick anyway, before the COVID stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's awesome that you're able to kind of wind down, relax a little bit, and spend some time with your family. And I think all of us are taking advantage of it in different ways. For me, I get to do cool conversations like this a lot more often,
Yeah.
and connect with awesome people like you. So thanks for coming on. This is
That's
great.
awesome. Absolutely. And we love it. I feel like when I, probably every other day I go on Quarantine University, see what's going
Mhm.
on and see all the awesome learning that's happening. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't see your face, Joe. So
I hope that's a good thing.
and what it means is you're passionate about what you do and
Yeah,
you're getting, and
yeah,
you've got something to say and you're sharing it with your fellow brothers
yeah,
and sisters. So that's good.
yeah, yeah. That's very cool. Thank you.
I like reading all
So,
the comments where they get surprised that Joe's a chief because he looks like
Yeah,
he's 24.
I know. So let me tell you about Joe. We've kind of known each other through mutual company, and the first time I got a chance to actually meet him face to face, it's like meeting my little brother. But
yeah.
I think you might have said something like, "Yeah, I feel like you're my mom," and then he got like slapped real quick. I'm like, "Don't you ever call me your mom, like big sister."
I do not remember that, but if I did say that, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I think so. Every once in a while I get that. The young airmen come in and they're like, "You're like our." I'm like, "Don't ever call me your mom, man." I'm like, I can be. And I've been told that somebody who I don't know, has said that I'm like their aunt, But I'm okay with aunt, big sister, but not mom.
Not
Oh,
mom. Yeah.
definitely big sister. Definitely big sister. But sweet. Awesome. Thank you for coming on once again. And hey, Joe, so we like to kind of share airman stories, right? And just like I just heard on Chad Hardesty's podcast with you, you're the airman's airman. I mean, I've totally believed that. I feel that too. And I'm wondering if you can kind of like share a little bit about yourself, because I think we often get a lot of wisdom and experience through other people's experiences. And if we could just hear a little bit about how did Joe Bass become Joe Bass of today, I think we get some
I
great
love
gems
that.
out of that.
All right, I'm gonna do my best to consolidate like my whole life in a couple brief minutes. So, my parents met when my dad was in the Army stationed in Korea at the time. So they got married, and my mom came here to the States and became a naturalized citizen. My dad also is not a first generation American. He came here as a young 5 or 6 year old with his family, and so neither of them had college degrees. They just knew they knew the value of working hard. And so my dad stayed in the Army. He retired out of the Army in Hawaii. So my home of record's Hawaii, and that's where I joined the Air Force. I don't tell a whole lot of people, but I was actually, kind of a misbehaved military child, and most folks can't
Mm.
believe it. But I mean, I wasn't totally bad, but my parents divorced early on in my career, in my life, and I spent 4 years living with my dad in high school, and he did a phenomenal job raising me. And I'd see my moms in the summer, but sometimes coming out of homes where the mom and dad aren't together, you just kind of do whatever. And so I did a lot of whatever, and I would get myself in trouble so much. And I've started to share this more often because, people see senior leaders and they just think, man, they've like grown up in this amazing life and they've never had any hardships. And they were, they just, they grew up with a silver spoon. And that is not the case for me. I was in so much trouble. So I decided I couldn't join the Army because I didn't want to wake up early. And, after I watched my dad doing that. So I joined the Air Force. And while I was in delayed enlistment, I had gotten in quite a bit of trouble right after high school, enough that I was actually banned from all of the military installations in Hawaii. So
Wow.
Jose, I know you're a prior
Wow.
first sergeant. You'd be like, so she was that dependent child. So,
Uh-huh.
and when that happened, my dad is like, hey man, you're going back to the mainland until they call you. You're going to live with your mom, and do not tell your recruiter. So we didn't tell my recruiter, and then sure enough, next thing you know, I'm in the Air Force, and I've been in 27 years, and I'll be honest, it passed by so fast. I came in to do 4 years, get my GI Bill, and that was it. But throughout the 27-year journey that I've had, I've just, made a slew of friendships. I've learned what it means to wear this uniform, and I've had a blessed career there. I tell people all the time, the Air Force has given me way more than I've given it. And the other blessing is, through that, I've met a phenomenal, husband. He was prior Army, so he served 27 years, retired as a Army First Sergeant out at Fort Hood. We have 2 kiddos, a 13-year-old and 19-year-old, so life is good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Hey, Chief, so
that's
quick
amazing.
question. So you said something, and I can remember my moment when I felt like, Joe and I, we talked about this, so when you joined the Air Force versus like when the Air Force is in you, and you said you intended on staying in for 4 years. What changed, or what was that moment?
So, I don't have like an epiphany moment like a lot of folks. It just started to grow on me. And when it started to grow on me, and the more meaningful times that I remember in my life were the times where I was deployed. I went on a few deployments early on in my career. And I think it's through those deployments you start to really learn what it means to serve. And then, oh, by the way, you're also part of this larger fraternity. So a lot of people, leave their hometowns to find something new. And that was me. I wanted to find something new. And what I found was, it sounds super cliche, but I found an Air Force family. I found brothers and sisters that I actually connect with. And slowly over time, actually enjoyed spending more time with my Air Force family, like it. So sorry, Mom and Dad, but then my, just because we had a common bond, and that was really important to me at the time. But I really think it was through the deployments. I tell people all the time. So at 4 years, I wasn't all in. I re-enlisted because I needed to pay off my Honda Civic, like full on. That was the only reason. And then about the 8-year mark is when I really understood what it meant to wear this uniform.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I think it's awesome. The family thing is, I could totally relate to that. I don't really have a lot of biological family, but people like y'all are my family. I've always considered it that way. And and many other people feel blessed to be able to meet so many amazing people through this career. So cool. So, hey, Joe, so fast forwarding a little bit from who you were to who you are now. We have some civilian listeners, and I think most of our military listeners understand what your current role is, but can you kind of break down what it is that you do now as the 2nd Air Force Command Chief, what your responsibilities are?
Absolutely. So I'm the senior enlisted leader of 2nd Air Force, and 2nd Air Force is responsible for 93% of all the training that happens in the United States Air Force. So we are in charge of basic military training, BMT, as well as all of the ground technical training. So we have 5 different installations where airmen go to tech training, and then we have, upwards of 70 geographically separated or detachments across the globe where people continue to get the training from our amazing instructors, military training leaders, and military training instructors.
Yeah, that's got to be
So we're kind of
extremely
busy.
Yeah, that's got to be so rewarding. But then right now, it's got to be an extreme challenge to figure out how you're going to deliver that pack, that training and that fully trained airman, to their next installation. I can only imagine, because I'm on the receiving end of that what you're dealing with on the delivery side of that.
So I love it. I tease some of my fellow peers, that my NAF chiefs that are at different NAFs, because I don't know if they're as busy as I am, but I'm like, so 2nd Air Force is jobbing. Matter of fact, when I was getting ready to come to 2nd Air Force, I'll never forget, I was at the Pentagon at the time, and Chief Wright pulls me aside, and he's giving me my, kind of my speech on, what to expect when I go to a numbered Air Force, because he came from 3rd Air Force in USAFE. And he's like, hey, Joe, don't get in the wings business, let them do them. Here's how it's going to be when you're at a NAF, and you're not going to be too busy. And then I PCS to 2nd Air Force, and probably within the first month or two, I was like, man, he lied, we 2nd Air Force. So I've told him that a lot of times. I'm like, 2nd Air Force is your busiest NAF ever, because the training doesn't stop. We are charged with growing America's airmen, and even in COVID, we're handling our business because we have to. At the end of the day, we've got to grow the airmen for the future, and so our country's readiness and deterrence all rely on United States airmen, and so we've got to grow them.
Yeah, that's and I'll be honest with you. I think you got my dream job. That's like an amazing job. I love development training, and it's such a cool thing that you're doing. And when I see you on social media and everywhere else, and the cool things that come with the traveling. I know, like we just talked about, how it could beat you up a little bit, but once you get there and see the amazing things that the airmen are doing, and your MTLs and your training instructors, I can only imagine how much that brings warmth to your heart to be able to see that in action.
So I just wrote that down, Joe, that this is your dream job. So in a few years, man.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Very cool. Because you work with and see airmen so often, this is kind of like just an off the cuff question. There's a lot of like thoughts, I guess I hear it so much. Oh, the millennials are this, and these are these generational gaps. And I feel like it's just an excuse, right? I mean, a lot of times we say these, and I even did a paper on it, and there's a lot of it's just popular science. We just decided to assign things to it. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that I believe that there's generational gaps, right? Because we do experience different things, but I think we lean on it a little bit too much as a reason why we can't connect.
Yeah, so I think instead of kind of using it as a cop-out, we really have to appreciate those generational differences that we have. And so, yes, I have the privilege of being able to run across hundreds, if not thousands, of airmen, in a given week, month, or what have you. And all, I love to, one of the favorite things I like to do is to take my boss to the DFAC to have lunch, because you learn so much in the DFAC, especially here in a training environment. And we'll always go sit at a table with a bunch of airmen and kind of freak them out. And I let them know, hey, a 2-star is about to join us. Don't freak out, And so, and so this generation of airmen actually loves that. They want to talk to their leaders. They're probably very different than when I came in. And when I talk about generations and the airmen of today, I say that very broad and loose, because it's a generalization. The airmen that are coming in the Air Force today, we have 39-year-olds who are joining the United States Air Force today. Right. We have airmen who have a PhD, who have master's degrees, who have, a lot of them have some college and then decided to, go ahead and enlist and then finish their college. So the airmen that are coming in today's Air Force are very broad, and we have this big window of folks that we let in. But in general, they are some of the brightest folks that we've ever experienced. They're way more technologically savvy. They can figure things out way quicker than I could when I was 18 years old. But some of the other differences are they're not as physically fit as we were probably when we came in. Again, I'm saying this in general terms, in general terms, when I came in the military, we all hung out, played, we were gone. We didn't come home till the lights came on, the street lights came. I mean, we were out there, where most of the population today, they're not as outdoorsy as we once were. So again, we take the technologically savvy folks, very bright, very smart. They want to know the why. And they have options. Man, they don't have to join the United States military. And so they have options, and talent management's important to them. Purpose is important to them. When I came in, you look at most of the folks who stayed in the military, they stayed in for security and different reasons. That may not be the same reasons why people stay in today. So I think that it's important to understand there are differences, appreciate those differences, and learn how to best manage the talent in the military. I think I read somewhere where there are 4 generations serving in today's military, 4 different generations. And so we have to realize that, what speaks to me may not speak to, a millennial or a Gen Z, or some of the baby boomers, which I am not, by the way, so we have to figure out what speaks to everybody, what do they value, and how do we retain the best talent in the military?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think I wrote something on that somewhere. It might have been a paper or something, but that honestly, if you really look at it with an objective view, we have more commonalities across the generations than we have differences. I mean, if you just straight up looked at it, and we can leverage those commonalities to build those connections, but then also leverage the differences to be more innovative and problem solve. And I think oftentimes we just focus too much on the differences and why somebody's not understanding, or, instead of having that next level of conversation. So that's some great points. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think that we can kind of leverage that also to figure out what our next challenges are, right? The challenges or the differences that we have. And in a past interview you did with us, like we kind of had a great interview with you on the Llama page. You mentioned one of our biggest challenges as an industry is moving at the speed of relevancy. Now, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what did you mean by that? How that the biggest challenge as an industry is moving at the speed of relevancy?
Yeah. So I think I was really speaking in context of, within the Air Force and within Second Air Force, we have got to be able to move and change, adapt at the speed of relevancy. If something changes and we just have to be able to move out. And in the past, and there's certainly still communities that struggle with change, that struggle with the transformation and adapting to the times we're in today. And so if it's 2020, we have to move and change our draconian policies that keep us from being able to do what we need to do. And I don't care what that's in, human resources, HR, people operations, assignments and policies, PME policies, and the way that we train. If we train today in Second Air Force the way we trained when I came in 1993, then we're probably wrong, because it's 2020 and we've got to figure out how to stay relevant in a world that's moving super fast. And we can't let policies and procedures keep us from being able to get after it. So the good news story in all this, since my last time I spent with you guys and I made that remark, let me tell you, AETC and Second Air Force for certain, we have been moving out at the speed of relevancy. We didn't ask for COVID. And if you would have asked us, 3 months ago, if we would be experiencing anything like this across our force, we would have said, there's no way. Like, what is COVID? And we would never imagine that it would have altered our life. And this is a defining moment for us. In that matter of, 3 months that we've been into this, in Second Air Force itself, I mean, goodness gracious, we have just created and finished yesterday. We graduated airmen out of a BMT here at Keesler Air Force Base. So we finished our proof of concept. Now, we didn't do that just because of COVID. We've been talking about being able to move at the speed of relevancy, and we need, ways to be able to train our airmen and be agile enough to be able to do it. And so what COVID's done is kind of propelled us to do it. We've changed a ton of the way we train folks, where there's more of what we're doing right now: virtual training, more blended training. Why do we have airmen just waiting for their security clearances and not doing anything? We forced our cadre and our teams to put stuff on virtually, where airmen can sit in their dorms on their devices or, on any device and be able to start already getting after work, where in the past we didn't. We have just cut through so many different policies and said, why do we have to do that? Move our airmen out, and let me tell you, our brothers and sisters at AFPC, they have been moving out with us. They see the need to move and change some of their policies. But here's the kicker: when all this is said and done, we can't go back to the old ways. So if we figured out ways to cut through the policy because of COVID, the things that are better now and the things that are more effective, we can never go back.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
I love it. I tell my boss all the time, we were talking about it last night, we have, in a organization that is kind of slow to react, we have not been that in the last 3 months. And I'm so proud of the team here.
Yeah. in so many ways, what we're experiencing has not just made us a little bit more innovative on how to solve these problems, but also it's also kind of sped up things that we were already kind of in the works on doing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
across the entire enterprise and across probably the whole planet. Like there was things that people thought, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool to do one day. And then you're like, well, now, yeah, we're gonna do it now. We're
Yeah.
kind of
No
forced to do
excuses.
so. Yeah, no
I,
excuses now. Yeah, so that's really cool that you guys are able to execute in that way. And I think that that from on the side, the operational side where we're receiving these folks, a lot of the things that you said, to include even going back to the part where we have 39-year-old airmen coming in, and it's just amazing. I have a 38-year-old female firefighter, and
yep.
she's running circles. I mean, she is just phenomenal, right?
That's
And
awesome.
to your point about the fitness piece, yeah, to be honest with you, a lot of 38-year-olds are in much better shape than some of the younger folks that we have right now coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've just kind of already done it. If you're 38-year-old and you decide to join the Air Force, you're probably in pretty good shape, or in
Yeah.
military service at all, right? So,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
that's very cool. Yeah. So, hey, another part from that interview, you mentioned your favorite quote, and it was, "Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it." And I related to that so much because I remember my last assignment. Oftentimes, so like a little bit too often. Hey, when are we doing strat discussions? When are we doing this? When are we doing that? Right? I
Hmm.
remember when I was in Korea, when my boss told me that I did earn a strat. I was like, oh, you guys already had those discussions? Because I was like just
Yeah.
so busy out
Jobbing it.
there,
Hmm.
Yeah.
jobbing it, right? I didn't even know that those discussions were happening because I was out in the field with my airmen so often that I didn't even realize it. So that quote meant a lot to me. And I was wondering, what does it mean? Like, why does that become your favorite quote?
So, every time I go out and have an opportunity to talk to leaders, I often share that quote because I think that inherently, again, if we just focus on the present, if we focus on the here and now, and that does not negate the fact that I think we should be good planners and, trying to help,
Mhm.
propel our lives forward and control our destiny. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is
Mhm.
don't get so focused on the future that you're not
Hmm.
handling your business today.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Don't be so focused on what the next job is that you're not taking care of your business today and the things that you have responsibility over. We have a lot of great teammates and they're great Americans around us who are so busy looking forward to the next two jobs that they miss
Mhm.
opportunities today to take care of their airmen, to
100%.
make their duty stations better. That's all I mean, man, like success in life is simple. Success in an organization, we should all strive to make our organization better when we left it.
Hmm.
Our decorations and our EPRs say that we do, but then we all know that that's not the case. That's a whole nother podcast, Joe and Jose. We gonna need to have to do that one on truth. But
We were
but
literally just talking about that before this, about how the
Yeah.
danger of somebody believing their EPR or believing their
hey
decoration.
man,
You know.
if you consolidated everybody's decoration in EPR, I mean, we've saved, gajillions of dollars and cut every process. So we should be the most agile Air Force in the world. So anyway, that's
Right.
Hmm.
another subject. But the point is, know, don't be so, worried about what's next. It will just happen if you're killing it and handling your business and
Hmm.
taking care of what you're in charge with at this level, success will come. And
Hmm.
it's rang true in my career. I've never had to keep looking for jobs. I've never had to ask for sponsorship or anything. It happened because I feel like I was able to handle my business at every level that I had. And sometimes I was wondering, man, why am I at this level? How long am I going to have to deal with this situation? Sometimes I need to graduate from that situation and have learned something
Mm.
before I can
Mm.
move on.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Graduate from the situation.
That, yeah.
I'm writing that
Uh,
one down.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
yeah, that's cool. So another thing that I've discovered just seeing your social media and just talking to you is that self-care is such a big part of your daily routine, right? And I've
Yeah.
taken that as a very important thing for me too, because I think early on when you're driven by achievement, and then early on in our career, we kind of neglect that. We kind of neglect
Hmm.
the taking care of ourselves. And I know that I've kind of paid for that through the years, and now I'm really making that deliberate effort. But what's Elizabeth Gilbert said it the best. She said she's doing something for herself, right? Like, what is current self putting self through to for future self to thank them for, right? So what
Mm.
is what is current Joe Bass doing that future Joe Bass will thank her for, in that self-care realm?
I love that. I wish somebody would have asked me that question as a tech sergeant, because it might have helped me earlier get to a healthy point in life where I actually do prioritize me. Because again, and I'm very vocal, I don't think I really prioritized me until probably about 2.5 years ago.
Hmm.
Even as a first time command chief at Goodfellow, I most certainly didn't prioritize me. And nobody can really tell, but you can tell, because
Hmm.
that you can just tell, inside you're not
Hmm.
100%, yet on the outside as leaders we have to be. And so that is a hard backpack to carry when you're not really yourself. But the present Joe, I eat well. I do my best to. So I do my best to eat well. I don't eat a lot of garbage. And I'm a foodie, so I don't
Hmm.
not eat anything. But if I'm gonna eat it, I'm not gonna eat something with a bunch of preservatives and some
Hmm.
pound cake from Walmart with a bunch of stuff in it. I'm probably gonna make the pound cake with 5 ingredients. So I'm very serious about doing my best to try to make home cooking. And I'm not judging people, so don't get upset if you buy the pound cake from Walmart. I'm just saying, at this point in my life, I
Hmm.
don't want to have a bunch of garbage in my body. I don't want to have preservatives. I tried to my best to eat whole foods. I have a protein shake or a green smoothie, once or twice a day. Um, I do my best to exercise. I love sleep. And I sleep, I try my best to sleep about 7 or 8 hours a night. And when I am TDY, and as hard as that is on my body, you know, I, I don't even call a lot of people when I'm TDY. And I know that might make people, a little bit upset because I was in town and I didn't call folks, but I actually like to go to my hotel room sometimes and just sleep. It's my
Hmm.
opportunity to catch up. And so I eat well, I exercise, I sleep. I've learned to say no to stuff, and that used to be really hard on me. I learned to appreciate being present so that I can actually have meaningful relationships, with my family or my friends or my coworkers. And I've just learned to just, not prolong things. So for instance, I just do it. If I have a feeling like, hey, let me invite somebody over, I just do it, because if you keep, procrastinating or belaboring, you won't do it. So for instance, right before I got on the phone with you guys, I actually had three wingmen over at the house, three female chiefs, and they came over and we did coffee.
Nice.
I almost
Awesome.
canceled yesterday because I was like, man, I'm going to be so busy and I've got this going on, so, and I've learned to just do it. You'll be
Hmm.
glad that you did. And then lastly, I would tell you, I've learned to have grace. So although I eat
Mm.
well, exercise, and etc., and I get up at like 4:30 or 5 to do all this, if I sleep till 8 in the morning, I'm like, I should have woke up. Oh well, and I just have grace
Hmm.
about it. And I'm
Hmm.
okay with that. We all, slip off sometimes, but I do my best to stay disciplined, to start my day off well. So I think those things in 20 or 30 or 40 years, I will, and I pray I live that long, will all have helped me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you just hit like every single pillar of comprehensive airman
There you
fitness
go.
throughout that, right? And I mean,
That's
like,
right.
and really, right? And I mean, it's like that is exactly how you need to do it. You need to, you got that social connection still, the mental fitness, and the sleep thing. I know a while back I
Hmm.
shared with you that whole thing with Matthew Walker, because he's been all over the place talking about
Yeah.
sleep. And
Yeah.
listening to him, it actually scared the crap out of me, because I was like, whoa, the way he talked about really when you're awake, you're actually experiencing low levels of brain damage. And then the only time it actually like heals is when you're sleeping. So if you're constantly awake, you're actually just continuously getting that brain damage. And if you're not getting enough sleep, that just continues and you can get dementia and all kinds of stuff. And like, oh my goodness, right? I mean, if that's not something that's like that by itself is enough to get you, make sure that you have a good sleep hygiene. I don't know what is, because I think what I fear more than death is just being completely debilitated and somebody has to take care of me for everything, you know? So I definitely, people ask me like, what time do you go to sleep? I'm like 8:39. I try to lay down at least, you know, I might be reading a book, but I try to get to bed around that time, you know. But that's
what
awesome.
I want to talk about when I hear you talk about what time you go to sleep. Before I do that, let me just say one thing. So it's taken me, 20 something years to get to that point. It's taken me 20 something years to understand that the calf pillars are like not just, just great ideas, that it actually works. So again, I don't want people I don't want the tech sergeants and the captains who are like, hey, that's not me, I'll never get there. Yes, you will. It took me 20 something years to really get that balance. And what I've learned is to be my best and to optimize who I am so that I'm, the Second Air Force leader that I need to be. I have to do those things. But what I wanted to say is, so a lot of us go to bed and kind of the last thing that we do in bed is we're on our phones, right? Our devices, that screen time. I'm starting to do some research now where, even for me and my family, we're like, hey man, we need to put the screens down like an hour before time. And we need to have a healthy screen life balance, Too many of our fellow Americans and people in general are spending so much time now. I love that my device tells me how much screen time I have. And, I get a little bit shamed myself when I'm on so long, even like if my husband sees me on it, I'm like, I'm doing work, so because, it can get unhealthy. If you're on, so if the device is controlling you, that's a bad thing. If you're using the goodness of the device to, for the good, then you're okay. But too many devices, I've seen it with people where they scroll and they're comparing themselves with their peers. They're seeing all this garbage on Instagram, IG, and Twitter and everything. It can start to control you. Don't let your device control you.
Yeah. And, and also it's sometimes difficult to make that shift because like you said, okay, if you're letting it control you versus, you're actually utilizing it for good, but then suddenly you start rationalizing what you're doing as you're utilizing it for good. And then you get that cycle where you're constantly on it, right? Because I've heard people say, well, I'm doing work. I'm like, well, why are you doing work right now on that at this time? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of work are you doing? So, and that looks different for everybody, right? I mean, that looks different for everybody. And another cool thing that you just talked about was how it took you this long to get to this point. I know that I try to live that balanced life, like you're saying, but I suck at it. Like I still suck at it. You know what I mean? Like all of us are trying to figuring it out as we go, and we just continue to try to get better at it. But yeah, for sure.
You will, young Joe. You will.
So as you were talking about, oh, my bad. So as you were talking about some of those things, right? It was very organic with the calf pillars, and I had that epiphany moment too, because that's how Joe and I actually met. He was a MRT, and then we did it together, and I remember. I was teaching and I believed in it, but about 4 years later, that's when I really believed in it, because unfortunately some of those pillars they weren't there. And I felt myself going down that way. But I did a deep dive on your social media and I was wondering if you could elaborate on something. So it looks like Keesler's doing something with zebra ropes. Like what is that concept? Because I've seen it, it looks like a lot of goodness. Is that localized to that installation or is that across?
So, okay, my good fellow folks are going to have to get me if I'm wrong, but the zebra ropes, I believe, are at Goodfellow, and that is a coaching for success program. So here's a bunch of young airmen who are already in the pipeline who've said, hey, I want to help my peers succeed, and so they're peer coaches. Helping them academically or in other ways. And so that's what they're doing. And I love it because if you check out my feed and the video clip that Goodfellow did, these airmen seem, again, mature beyond their years. they're airmen who are like, hey, I've got to be here at tech training anyways. I might as well be a team player and help my folks succeed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember that when I went to tech training. I don't remember having that maturity, and I don't remember being the best team player that I could. We're just there trying to pass and move on to our next place. And so I love that we have airmen in our formations that are getting after. So that's what they're doing. It's their Airman Success Program.
That's awesome. That's
It is
awesome. And it's
cool.
always good to have from the peer level, because oftentimes as leaders, some of us, right, if we're immature, you kind of look at it as, I have to fix everything. I have to be the one doing all these things. But the reality is you should be growing that next generation so they do it inherently. And when you get that peer to peer, oh, you can't beat it. Because I think there's a little more, I don't know if it's a little more belief in the system or what it is, but there's more street cred, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. So here's what we owe as a system, and this might have to be another podcast too. What we owe in the system is, if we're inherently growing our airmen and BMT and tech training to rely on each other, to be good team players, to to support each other, propel each other, but then some of our processes and policies in the operational Air Force, perhaps even with our EPR, don't lead to that. We're going to have to fix it. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know that, we have some smart people within our Air Force to help us get there. But, folks tell me all the time, oh, Chief, the new EP, the way our EPR system is now, it's like the Hunger Games, and we have to fix that fundamentally, because I don't want these airmen who are committed and excited to join our ranks come from a Air Force family atmosphere and helping each other to a Hunger Games scenario. Anyway, future talk. I'd love to hear what you guys end up, saying about that, because I know y'all care about our Air Force. That's something we got to help get after.
Yeah, and not to go too deep into that, but I know Jose and I were just talking about that before we started this too, because we talked about how you start believing in your own EPR, that everything's on there is actually what you did. But the other piece of that was, we were talking about awards packages and and EPRs and all that, and you go on there and it's like, yeah, you might have done 30 cool things this year, but it doesn't negate the fact that you showed up late to work all the time, because we're not going to write that on the award package. Or you broke suspenses, or you weren't a good teammate, and all the character stuff that's on there. And it's tough. Yeah.
And that shouldn't be derogatory. So if we're truthful about performance, it shouldn't, it shouldn't be derogatory. Now I've got to do all this additional paperwork. It should just be a matter of fact.
Yes.
Right. For sure. And you should be able to identify on there, hey, this guy or this gal is willing to lay down a bunt for the team. And we should value that, right? We as an institution, that they're willing to hit a sacrifice fly instead of just swing for the home run, even though they got a record on the line, right? I mean, they're willing to do those things, and that's where I think we're kind of missing the boat. But
we're gonna have to have a part 2. I'm about ready to go grab a root beer, and we're about to start solving some world problems.
Sounds good. Yeah. So hey Jose, you wrote that down, right? We're gonna have a part 2 for sure. She just committed, so
got it.
So that's awesome. But so this is what we do when we try to wrap up our podcast. We close out with what Jose created as the leadership rapid fire. So we're going to ask you a series of 4 questions, and then and just whatever the answer is. All right, don't be scared, just be excited. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
It is.
All right. No, the number 1. What is your favorite leadership trait?
Empathy.
Awesome. Sweet. Number 2, typically we ask what your favorite quote is, but we already talked about that. So this is number 2 now. What would you want your family to say about you at your 80th birthday celebration?
That's a good one.
Hey Joe, you broke up a little bit. I couldn't hear that. Something about my 80th birthday?
Yep. So what would you want your family to say about you at your 80th birthday celebration?
Man, I don't know if that's on my end. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Can you try to repeat one more time? Oh, no, now you're good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what would you want your family to say about you at your 80th birthday celebration?
That she lived a long, good, and worthy life. She ran a good race. She enjoyed herself, and she had fun.
That's awesome. Cool. All right. Question number 3. What is the number 1 book you'd recommend for an aspiring leader?
Ooh, I already told you I cannot pick a book. And here's why I can't. I'm not changing my stance. I cannot pick one single book because everybody's different. So, every book speaks to people differently based on where they are in their journey. I have several books that I love, but again, what speaks to me where I am in my journey may not be something that speaks to somebody else. So here's what I'm just going to tell you. Just pick up a book and read. Anytime you have an opportunity to read 10 or 15 minutes a day, and again, that's part of that just do it that I get after. You just have to do it. You'll be a better person 15 minutes after you read. So it might be a devotion or it might be whatever, and balance that out. So I always read something that develops me personally, develops my character, but I also do something that's fun. So I'll grab a cookbook because I love to do that, read that, and get after cooking. But then I'll do something that develops me. And then I'll tell you that I'm reading right now, Stillness is the Key. And what I love about that and where it speaks to me today in my journey and why I can barely put it down is because we're in a age of like information overload. Like, and man, reading that book has just been a revelation to me because, even in the dozens and dozens of emails we get every day, some of the people who we interact with, we can just have so much information and it can really just kind of make you lose focus. So it's the stillness piece is reminding me to reflect, be still. I don't have to read every email, so don't get offended. But I don't have to spend an hour listening to somebody. We have choice, and so stillness is a good thing. Anyway, great book.
Yeah, that is a great book. I know this is like we're in the middle of leadership rapid fire, but I just wanted to dig into that one for a minute. That book is amazing. And so is the entire series. I mean, Ryan Holiday, the first book I read of his was The Obstacle is the Way. And I don't think I wrote in or highlighted more in one single book than that one for me to go back on. Oh, just an amazing book. And to your point, I needed that book at that time in my life when I read it. I mean, it really, it was really cool that it popped up at the right time for me to kind of check it out. So
I love it. That's in my queue, Joe.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Ego is the Enemy is great too. But I mean, like Obstacle is a Way. I think it's like I said, it's because when I really needed it, it popped up and it really meant something to me. But
that's awesome.
So cool. So final question: how do you find your harmony between life, learning, and leadership?
Jose, why you got to be all deep? How do I fight? So
it's kind of our motto.
Yeah. So it's trial and error. Some days you're like killing it. The harmony between balancing all of those things out, and some days, you just don't. You move on. I think, how do I find it? Grace. I've learned to just be okay with not always getting it right. And sometimes I fail, and sometimes I fail horribly. And I've learned to ask my family for grace at times. I'm like, hey, mommy makes mistakes too. I don't say that to my husband, but I tell my kids, I'm like, hey, mommy makes mistakes too. Mommy needs grace in this.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great answer. Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. And really, thank you for taking the time to be with us and for sharing your wisdom and some of those awesome gems. I'm going to be listening to this a couple times to go back and explore some of the things we talked about. But I know I grew a lot from this conversation. I really do appreciate
100%.
you.
I love it. Hey, Jose, and I appreciate you taking the time. Your family's out there probably waiting on you to hurry up and get in, but I appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us. I had my coffee here. So thanks for this, and for you, Joe, and Jose, and the rest of your Llama team. Thanks for what you're doing. So you guys don't have to do this. You could be doing anything you want to do in life, but you're trying to impact one person at a time. And so kudos to you guys for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you. And to all our listeners, as always, stay safe, be healthy, and llamas are out. Thank you, Joe Bass.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the show. We'd love for you to connect with us at www.llama-leadership.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/Llama Leadership, and also on Instagram at Llama Leaders. And a big thanks to Mike Whitmer for the music. To check out more of his stuff, go to soundcloud.com/Mike-Whitmer. Thanks again. See you on the next episode.